Hello, I'm Zash, and welcome to episode 15 of my Katawa Shoujo Let's Read. Joining me, as always, is my co-reader Faye. Last episode, we had a nice little party for Hanako's birthday and Lily's going away party. Though there was a little bit of drinking involved, so I don't think their morning is going to be fun. And we left it with Hisao taking the rather, shall we say, tipsy Hanako back to her room. I wonder if they'll get up to anything, shall we say, interesting? Anyway, please enjoy. We stumble out of the door, into the hallway, and into Hanako's room. Hanako bumping into me a number of times on the way. Inside the room, I flick on the lights as Hanako turns her attention towards the shelf on the dresser. An elegant doll is sitting on it, staring into the bare room.
There you go. You'll be safe in here.
Hanako gingerly places the doll next to the other one and straightens its dress. They sit in silence, hair and clothes perfectly arranged. Just like the teapot in Lily's room, they serve as a distinct contrast to the dull whites and grays that permeates her bedroom. Satisfied that her dolls, her only two real possessions, are safe, Hanako takes a step back and stands up, staggering severely. I step forward to catch her if need be, but she regains her balance without any help. For a while, both of us stand in silence as Hanako looks downwards towards the cupboard. After a minute or two, she begins to sway a little from side to side. It's very off-putting. Are you going to be all right? Hanako raises her head and turns around to me as if she's only just remembered that I'm also in the room. What's unexpected is that she takes 2 steps towards me, wraps her arms around my body, her head coming to rest against my chest. I can feel my heart beating as all of my senses feel like they're coming alive again after their deadening through the previous drinking. The smell of wine on her breath, the feeling of her fingers through my clothing, the scent of her hair underneath my chin. My hands remained out in front of me, not daring to touch her. The temptation is there to hug her, to embrace her, to tell her everything will be fine. But this feels wrong. Really, really wrong. Hanako.
But I want to stay with you and Lily.
Hanako's slurring reminds me a bit of Misha. She probably wouldn't be pleased to hear that. You know I can't. You're a girl, and I'm a guy after all, and Lily needs to sleep. She gives a disappointed groan. It's so strange for her to act so forward. Don't worry, I'll see you again tomorrow, okay? I decide to rest a hand on her head to reassure her, deciding that this is as far as I'll allow myself to go in terms of physical contact with her while she's in this state. Hanako's head nuzzles against my chest. It makes me feel all the more uneasy with the situation, and as her arms tighten around my back, I quickly decide to bail out. I rest my hands on her shoulders and give her a firm but gentle push. Her grip tightens a little as I do so, but she eventually breaks off.
I don't want you to go.
Hanako, please. Akira and Lily are going to start thinking weird stuff if I take too long here. It's perfectly true, too. I really don't want to take any chances, and I feel very uncomfortable right now. I shouldn't try to read anything into the way she's acting right now. I read that aside from alcohol lowering inhibitions, people can react to getting drunk many different ways that don't necessarily reflect reality. And even without that, there are plenty of ways to interpret what she's saying. As long as she's safe, I'm going to try and get out of this room as soon as possible. Looking a right mess as she stands and looks downcast in the center of her room. Her personality changed as she drunk more and more, and now, all alone in the room with me, her previous brightness seems to have left her. Was she just acting upbeat to make sure we didn't worry? Even if she was, what could I possibly do for her, since I do exactly the same thing in regards to my own condition? Distancing myself from my thoughts, I eventually managed to corral Hanako towards her bed, though her attempts to tame the wild sheets on it end up accomplishing little. Sorry about tonight, Hanako. I know you probably won't remember any of this, but happy birthday. I'm sorry I couldn't do more for you. She looks up at me for a moment. I have no idea if what I said actually got through to her, but any chance to ask is lost as her eyes peacefully close. I sigh in relief before quietly backing away from her and leaving the room, flicking the light switch off as I go. I hesitate a little before opening the door to Lily's room again, quickly rehearsing what I should say if I get questioned about Hanako. After a few seconds, I still can't come up with anything. I open the door and make sure to close it behind me, lest any passing students catch a glimpse of the wine before turning my attention to the two girls at the low table. Akira's casually smiling, as is Lily. I welcome the change from the mood in Hanako's room.
Is that you, Hiso?
Yeah, I got Hanako to her bed. She's sleeping now.
That's good. I have to admit, I hadn't thought that she drank quite so much. Hey, it's fine. She's all safe and tucked up in bed now. With the way she is.
She awkwardly trails off, though Lily and I would hardly protest. For someone so anxious and fearful, drinking would give an easy out from those constant feelings. I wish I could do more for her. I feel useless. Looking at Lily, I think back to what I asked myself in town. My relationship with her is that of a friend, and has only ever felt that way, but now I think I know why. Lily's been there for both Hanako and me since I first met her, but she's like that for everyone, trying to do her best to make them feel better. With that in mind, then what's the bond between me and Hanako? After rescuing the relationship following the panic attack I inadvertently triggered during class, I feel like we're back to being friends, but she's on my mind more and more. I can't say I view any other girl in quite the same way, but maybe it's just a normal reaction to someone acting like this. Say, Akira? She yawns before looking at me. It is getting pretty late. You know about what happened with Hanako, don't you?
Yeah. Lily told me. I negotiated pretty hard for a break so I could come down and help make her birthday a bit brighter. Get along pretty well.
It's surprising to hear that from someone as extroverted as her, but if Hanako came to know her through Lily, maybe she had time to get used to Akira.
And on that note, I'd better get going. I'm already going to be a bit late as it is. But it's already so late. Sorry. We got a bunch of work dropped on us, so overtime it is.
She levers herself up with a grunt and heads past me to the door. Just before she leaves, she turns back towards us.
You haven't forgotten about the time for the flight and all the rest? Don't worry, I have everything ready. It's just a matter of packing when it gets closer to time to leave. Atta girl. I'll see you guys later then.
And with that, she disappears through the door, with her hand held high in farewell. Your sister is something, all right. I probably should have thought that comment through before saying it. Regardless, Lily seems quite amused by my appraisal. You okay after all that drinking? Not wasted and just hiding it well?
I assure you, I'm quite alright. I can moderate myself. You seem quite self-possessed as well, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, well, I guess your moderation applies to me as well. With a little hesitation, I take a seat at the table in front of Lily. I want to address this directly, for no other reason than to settle my own thoughts. I've been meaning to ask this, but it took me a while to make up my mind. You have any idea what triggered that panic attack? I gathered it was something to do with her birthday, but I don't know anything more. Even Akira has been really careful around her, so I assume she knows as well. Lily's smile drops, the gaiety of the birthday party now well and truly over.
To be honest, I'm not sure of all of the details myself. Hanako told you that she was in a house fire. She told me as much after we met and spent a lot of time together. Other than that, she quite simply never told me.
She never told you?
Assuming the worst, what does she have to look back upon? A life of isolation and possibly even the death of her family? Maybe even going as far as blaming her existence for their deaths?
Even thinking about what little I know of Hanako's past is bleak. To have lived through all that and to live on with those memories must be infinitely worse. Lily looks similarly depressed, but I can see her rebuild at least some of her composure before my eyes. I feel kind of helpless about it. When it's put like that, what could I possibly do for her?
I'm not really sure I should tell you this, but Hanako told me that you visited her the day after we both went to check on her. I must admit that I did not predict she would take such a step so quickly after what happened, nor did I expect you to. I think it was a nice gesture on your part.
It wasn't much, really. It's just, at times like this, I sometimes think it would be better if we never had to leave Yamaku, or at least this town. Things are so much easier without others around. I didn't expect Lily to look so troubled at what I say, and for a while she looks lost in thought. She moves to speak, but stops herself as soon as she does, and rethinks. It's a bit off-putting.
I think... Tell me, do you have anything planned for Friday evening?
Friday evening? No. Isn't your flight to Scotland the next day? I don't think it would be a good idea to tire yourself out before you even get there.
I'll be alright. You needn't worry about me. I'll do this tomorrow evening, but I imagine Hanako will be feeling rather off for a while.
The thought of how she's going to feel tomorrow makes me grimace. Maybe we should count her blessings that she didn't end up throwing up from drinking too much while having such a low tolerance. Well, I'm going to be able to attend whatever you're planning. What is it?
Nothing unusual, I assure you. Just a little excursion. And you'd better be off, Isao. I can't imagine this long at all until curfew is here.
Oh damn, curfew. I'd completely forgotten. I look at the clock next to Lily's bed, but it seems to be some oddity without written numerals, which I suppose makes sense given Lily's condition. Not wanting to risk a haughty security patrol giving me a scolding, I get up and decide to go to my dorm as she says. Well then, I guess I'll see you and Hanako tomorrow, assuming the both of you manage to get up in the morning.
Thank you for your concern, Hisao. Until then.
With that, I make my way out of her door and into the hallway. I hope her idea will be a good one. The hammering of a fist against the door feels like a nail being pounded in my head. Once, twice, 3 times. I let out a long, annoyed breath and bear it while pressing my eyelids shut, fervently hoping for whoever it is to just go away. I feel pretty damn awful. My face feels like it's cast out of lead. My arms feel heavy, and I feel very queasy. It's been like this since I woke up half an hour ago, and I can't summon the energy to pick myself out of bed. So, this is what they call a hangover. I wonder if perhaps this is the best treatment for teenagers who desperately want to try drinking as a way to feel like an adult. Considering how unpleasant this is, it's not something I want to repeat. A series of thumps ring out again, reverberating around the small room. I wish they'd give up already. I have no intention of getting out of bed for them. Seconds pass, turning to minutes. Since no more knocks are coming from the door, whoever it was must have left. Thank goodness. Looking to my clock, the time when I really should think about getting dressed and ready for class is approaching. I don't think I can manage it, though. I hate cutting class, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get much done at this rate. I can tell I look like a mess without needing to look in the mirror to confirm it, too. The morning rush is giving me enough time to stand outside the classroom for a little while without looking too suspicious. I hope that Mutao doesn't ask any awkward questions about my not attending school yesterday. I was sick, that much is true. It's just the reasons for it that I have to hide. Confident I can get by with a tactical omission of certain truths, I stride into the classroom doing my best to appear normal. The instant I open the door and take a single step in, I can feel a dozen eyes looking at me. There is no way I'm imagining this. They're not even making any attempt to hide it. My eyes take a quick sweep around the classroom, and I spot Hanako. We make eye contact momentarily before she looks down and stares very hard at her desk. Did she spill the beans? Mutao may be okay as far as teachers go, but underage drinking on campus is not exactly something that would be taken lightly. I look to him with some trepidation. Feeling better today? Yeah, thank you. He motions for me to take my seat, my legs feeling like sticks as they carry me there. This is going to be a long day. As soon as the lunch bell rings, I'm on my way to Hanako's desk to ask her what's going on. Hanako, did you tell? She looks up at me and shakes her head. That's a big relief.
It's just...
Well, hello there, Hee-chan. It's nice to see you again today.
I grimace and turn toward the unmistakable voice coming from behind me. That was way too upbeat a tone of voice to feel comfortable. Even from Misha. Misha's happy smile is nothing out of the usual. Shizune's, though, is a very bad sign. The one she wears has become notched in my brain as her "I've got you 7 ways from Sunday" smile. Hi Shizune, Misha. You look happy to see me.
Not feeling well yesterday, Hee-chan?
No, I wasn't. But I'm feeling better now, at least.
That's good to know, Hee-chan.
Why do I get the feeling that Shizune is leading me into a trap? You sound like you're not being completely serious.
Oh no, Hee-chan. We're genuinely pleased that you're all better now.
Shizune is positively overflowing with happiness. There's only one reason why she would be like this. Oh no.
In fact, we were quite worried about you. After all, you, Hanako, and Lily were all absent from class on the same day.
Yep, she's got us. So thoroughly that all I can do is sigh in defeat. I guess you have your own theories about this? Could you just kinda not tell anyone?
It's a bit late for that, Hee-chan.
I suppose she's right, considering the looks I got as I entered class. Still, things only seem to be at the level of vague suspicion rather than outright accusations, so we'll probably be fine. Hanako's face sinks a little further. Such attention is troublesome enough for me, let alone for her. Going by Shizune and Misha's reactions, I think they noticed this as well.
The only reason why we're giving you such a hard time is that you ignored us yesterday morning.
Yesterday morning? Takes me a while to recollect what happened then, given the haze induced by the generally awful state I was in at the time. Oh, right. The knocking. That was you two?
It was, and you left us there for ages after we'd taken all the effort of coming to your dormitory early in the morning.
Sorry. I was having a problem with nausea. A problem with nausea. They're not buying it. I can't blame them. Shizune's head droops in resignation before she reaches into her pocket. Something white and yellow can be seen sticking out a little. She pulls it out. It turns out to be an envelope with very bright decorations on it. She points it towards me. I duly take it.
This is what we were trying so hard to give you, Hee-chan. You didn't check your...
I tune out the sound of Misha's words as my eyes register what's written on the envelope. Hanako? I stare at the envelope for a moment, before suddenly remembering that there are people around me. There's a very strange, somewhat invasive feeling about their expressions. I kind of want to be alone right now.
Hanako?
It's nothing. Thank you for bringing me this, you two.
I should think so, after what we went through to get it to you.
I step back and say my goodbyes. Misha theatrically pouts even as I go to the door, but Shizune and Hanako remain very visibly curious about my reaction. I hope they won't interrogate me on this later. The smell of the gardens is, as always, a very pleasant sensation. Some of the most visible signs of how well funded the school is, aside from its sheer size, are the expanse and condition of the grounds. A good number of students can be seen eating lunch, chatting, and playing on the bright green lawns. Even some of the staff is enjoying the summer here, keeping watch over the students and idly walking along the long concrete paths. I've never seen a sight like this in my home city. On excursions, maybe, but certainly never in the school or anywhere near where I lived. Even the bench I sit on to read is warmer thanks to the summertime sun, reminding me of why I hadn't worn the school blazer even once yet.
Considering this, the sunflowers and splashes of vibrant yellow coloring adorning the paper are quite appropriate for the time. If only the words written on it were as well. Here I was, thinking I'd managed to get over her, when this troublesome thing shows up. Her handwriting looks vaguely familiar at best, and only now that I see it again, I remember that she used to write in pink pen a lot. She was always very girly, for lack of a better term. But she was also quite fragile. I never knew if I liked this aspect of her or not, though with the arrival of this letter, that question seems to have become largely moot. The letter begins with not much more than an update on the state of things going on in her life. My old class had a good start to the school year. Many are anxious about the exams that will be coming up in the future, etc. But it ends on a very personal, if brief note. It feels a bit like she wrote most of the letter just to try to soften the blow from the ending.
I wanted to somehow express my feelings, but the right words didn't come to me. I couldn't say anything to comfort you. I'm really sorry for not being able to support you when it mattered the most, even though I like you so much. At least now, finally, I can be more honest. If I could go back to those quiet days in February and March, I'd tell you to not give up on yourself. That's what I would say. Maybe you wouldn't have drifted so far away if I just said something. I hope you've managed to get back on your feet on your own. Now that the distance between us is also physical, it also feels more final somehow. I wonder if we will meet again. Perhaps it's for the best if we don't. Still, if you would like to correspond with me, by all means write me back. I'd very much like to hear about your new school and how you're doing. I wish you all the best. Sincerely, Hanako.
And so, that's that. Our relationship is over. Nice, neat, and tidy, with no ambiguity.
I hadn't held on to any illusions that it could ever begin anew. The last time she visited me, neither of us said a thing, except for the one word she said as she left for the final time. Goodbye. Be that as it may, this feels more final. The capstone to an experiment that both of us tried and failed at. A loud shout draws my eyes away from the letter. It's just some student horsing around with one of the teachers standing nearby, coming over to talk to them.
Are you okay?
A tentative voice comes from my side. For a moment I assume it to be Hanako, but it's actually Yuko. Oh, hello Yuko. I thought you'd be in the library. She gives a cheerful smile, one quite fitting for the atmosphere, and flourishes the empty wrapper of a roll in her hand. She must have had someone else covering for her while she grabbed something to eat. It reminds me that I hadn't had anything to eat yet. I don't feel hungry though, and skipping one lunch won't hurt.
Mind if I sit here?
Sure, go ahead. I quickly slide the letter back into its envelope, slipping it inside my bag, propped against the side of the bench as Yuko takes a seat. She drops the wrapper into a bin beside us. Without much else to do, I lean back and take what enjoyment I can from the sun, silently reflecting on the letter. The lush lawns, the clear blue skies, everything looks so different from the way it did back then. Even the school surroundings, from the hill it's on to the woods around it, are completely opposite to the urban scenery I remember. Maybe this is what it feels like to be homesick. Then again, it's not an outright bad sensation. The feel of the area around Yamaku, while very different, is also nice. I think I could get used to this.
Hey, Hisao?
Yeah?
You didn't answer my question from before. I wasn't going to say anything, but you still look troubled. If you don't want to say anything, though, that's okay. I don't mind at all. Sorry for asking something strange like that.
I don't mind. It's just, I got a letter from someone I knew before I came to Yamaku. It made me think about some things. I thought I'd managed to get over most of the problems that my accident caused, but now I'm not really so sure. I kinda wish I'd never seen it.
I don't think that's good, Hisao. When my boyfriend left me, he did so very suddenly and never let me know why. At first I was very depressed about it, but I decided to forgive him.
You forgave him? Couldn't he at least have talked properly with you about it?
He was always one of those people that found it difficult to come close to others. In the end, I decided that I fell in love with him for a reason. He was a good person, and I think that if I'd been in his position, I would probably have found it just as hard to try and talk to him.
I don't really see the connection to the letter I got.
I mean that... how should I put this? It must have been very hard for that person to send that letter, and if they did, I think they must have thought very hard about what exactly to say.
Hanako managed to write this letter and bring a final close to our relationship, something that I'd never managed to do. Whereas here I am, trying to protect and help Hanako as best I can, especially with Lily leaving for a while, and I'm not even able to deal with my own problems.
Does that make sense?
She's taken my non-response and furrowed brow as doubt. She really reads faces too much, just like a certain other person. Yeah, that makes sense. The letter was just kind of a shock, really. I think I'd really try to fool myself into thinking that my life reset when I came to Yamaku. But now I'm suddenly aware that it didn't. I'm at a bit of a loss about how to deal with these feelings.
I think that's something I can't really help you with. Sorry.
It's fine. I think being able to talk with you helped me get things sorted out a bit better in my head, so thank you anyway. She nods and smiles sweetly. Yuko is a nice girl, so it's a shame she's so highly strung so often. The school bell ringing out startles us both.
I was supposed to be back before the bell.
Oops. She jumps off the bench and almost races off without a second word, but turns on her heel as she remembers she was talking with me just now.
I'll see you later, Hisao. Cheer up, okay?
I'll try to. Thanks, Yuko. With a quick bow, Yuko takes her leave and begins to rush to the library. Her flight catches the curious eyes of a few passing students, who are unenthusiastically trudging back to their classes after their fun. Reluctantly standing from the bench, I dust myself off and join them. Even while I walk through the gardens back to the main building, the thought of the letter in my bag doesn't stray far from my mind. The feeling of walking through the streets is one of very deep nostalgia. While Yamaku may be like the reverse of where I had lived in the past, the city at night is amazingly familiar. My eyes are moving constantly from the bright electronic screens glowing high in the night sky, to the street lamps piercing the darkness with their light, to the businessmen enjoying themselves after work, and the busily talking couples on dates. Even if I didn't want to, I can't help soaking in every aspect of the city. I savor its familiarity like a sweet candy sitting on my tongue. Lily is walking to my left with her cane swinging to and fro, holding onto her sister's arm for guidance while talking to her. Compared to traveling by taxi or bus, being driven by Akira in her rather nice car was a much more enjoyable experience. Maybe not for the person on my right, though. Well, Lily was used to her sister's driving style, and I quite liked a bit of excitement. Hanako was holding very tightly to the door for most of the trip.
Everything looks so pretty at night.
Hanako quickly looks down yet again as she accidentally catches someone's gaze. Yeah, it does. My answer isn't very thoughtful, since I'm distracted by so many thoughts that I find it hard to keep up on small talk. One of those distractions, aside from the city lights, is how Hanako looks. This is the first time I've seen her in something other than her school uniform or her pajamas. It gave me pause when I first saw the outfit, when we met up at the school gate. Considering how much her head is lowered when people walk near us, I imagine that the hat she wears is more than a fashion statement. While initially I was wary of Lily's plan to take us out into the city, when night fell, it became obvious she had thought about this. Not many people paid Hanako much heed, since the darkness hides her scarring well. So, we're in the city. Any ideas on what to do? Akira beams a smile. Something tells me that she's the one who's making this particular decision, even if her sister may have opposed the outing in the first place.
You'll see. Just follow us.
I nod and try my best to stifle a grimace. After what happened during Hanako's birthday party, I don't trust Akira's judgment all that much. We keep walking, and I notice that we're passing more and more cafes, restaurants, and other eateries. Every once in a while, a drunken man in a suit comes out of a bar, usually being supported by another, but For the most part, the customers around this part of the city look young and fashionable. Different kinds of music come and go as we pass each business. The discord created by the overlaps should be grating, but it reminds me so strongly of the times I spent in the city with my old friends that I don't mind. Hanako and I have started to drift a little apart from Lily and Akira. That comes to a stop when I hear a soft thud from beside me.
Sorry.
By the time she rights herself from her apologetic bow, the middle-aged businessman she bumped into is walking away after mumbling a half-hearted apology.
Hanako looks a little put off by the experience, and as she quickly skips ahead to match my pace, I notice her head hanging low once more. She probably bumped into him because she was looking downwards and not where she was going. I stepped to the side a little and put my hand on her far shoulder, drawing her closer.
So?
It's okay. You can walk closer to me if you want.
Hanako hesitates, but eventually nods in assent. After a couple of times when I thought we had arrived at Akira's destination, we reach our target. By now we're below the elevated walkways, and past the most garish and brightly lit places. I'm a bit surprised. The average age of those around us is distinctly older, and the smell of cigarette smoke is pretty thick. The area is far from seedy though, and it's a little amusing to see Lily's reaction to the smell of the smoke. While it's masked by the sound of those talking around us, jazz music can be heard emanating from inside. Looking up at the dimly lit sign, it becomes obvious why. A jazz club? I have to admit, this isn't what I expected. Lily gives an amused snort and a smile.
Sometimes I feel like I should have known it, Akira.
As we talk outside, I notice more and more odd sideways glances directed our way. People awkwardly catch themselves staring and look away, but that just makes it more obvious. I had noticed this occasionally while we were walking, but it's more pronounced now. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. An average-looking Japanese teenage guy, just a little taller than normal, isn't the type to draw attention without making an effort.
Hey, come on. Just 'cause you're a teenager doesn't mean you can't have a taste. Right?
Well, I don't really mind the music, if that's what you mean.
I don't mind it either.
She's only just managing to force the words out. It contrasts heavily to when we're alone in Yamaku, and it disappoints me a little that she's so highly strung for what's supposed to be a good time out on the town. It's hard to read Hanako's face as she keeps looking downwards. It's little wonder if she doesn't come out to the city often because of this, but it makes me thankful that my own scarring is easily hidden. Lily had a similar way of attracting people's gazes, but the reason for it is clearly different. She hardly looks a native, and the same can be said for her sister. That much is far more noticeable than her blindness from a distance. She may not be able to see this for herself, but I've little doubt that she can hear the whispered phrases from people who think they're out of earshot. Be that as it may, she doesn't seem to show any sign of either annoyance or pleasure at the attention.
Akira is still as confident as ever, though. She strides with Lily by her side, and the two of us following behind. I'd expected my eyes to need adjusting to the light inside, but it's not that much brighter than the outside. The music we heard is clearer now, mixed in with the sound of glasses moving on the tables and counters, and the husky chatter of the patrons. Looking to my right reveals the music source, a jazz group playing beyond some tables. The patrons seem to be mostly men, and though there's a handful of women, nobody looks under 30, aside from us, of course. Feels a little like we've stepped into the 1920s, and the atmosphere is quite agreeable. I'm not completely comfortable simply because of my age, but were I older, I would probably feel quite at home. Hanako seems a bit more relaxed now, probably due to nobody looking at her. Everybody's talking between themselves, drinking, or watching the band. Akira casually takes a seat at the counter without even glancing around. She's probably come here before. Lily retracts her cane, feeling out the bar stool and the edge of the counter before taking a seat beside her sister. The bartender takes a brief break from polishing a glass to watch her, before putting it down and coming over.
Good evening, ladies. What'll it be?
Just a scotch, thanks. Lily?
May I have a glass of Shen?
A black-suited elbow hits her in the side sharply.
Orange juice, please.
No problem. Coming right up. The bartender starts to pour the drinks. A couple of seconds pass before Akira suddenly remembers that Hanako and I are indeed here, and turns around to us.
You two want anything, or are you just gonna stand there?
Hanako seems to be getting a bit restless. No matter where we're going to seat ourselves, there's going to be people right next to her, and I don't think she looks convincingly older than 20, unlike Lily. Looking around, there's a game section to our right. A couple of billiards tables can be seen in the corner, and nobody using them either. I glance to Hanako, about to ask her if she'd like to play, but she's already looking longingly in the same direction. Maybe it says something that we can get by with so few words nowadays. We'll go play pool over there. Akira leans back to see past me, before shrugging and sitting back up.
It seems you'll just have to put up with only me for company. How unfortunate.
Have fun, you two.
We turn and set off for the abandoned corner, with Hanako taking the lead. The prospect of a nice quiet game away from everyone makes her walk noticeably faster. Her eyes stay firmly fixed on her prize,